Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you all so much for being with me here today. Sorry it's been just about a couple of weeks since I posted a video. We've been out of town and just a myriad of different things that have been going on. And I'll try and update you a little bit on some of the things that have been going on as it pertains to my audio system. And of course, other things as well, and maybe even some upcoming albums that we're going to be talking about that we'll review. But anyway, thank you all so much for being with me here today. I appreciate each and every one of you so very much. In particular, thank you all so much for commenting on my latest few videos. Thank you for your suggestions, your ideas, your thoughts, your concerns. I really do appreciate that very, very much. In all of my videos, at least most all of my videos, I try to put chapters in them so that you can quickly go to the area that you want to go to. Today, for example, we're going to be looking at 3 albums. A couple of the albums we'll actually be doing a quick comparison with some other pressings. But really, the point of my video today is really just to kind of catch up on some of the latest pressings that I've acquired that just haven't had an opportunity to talk about for a bit. And there are 3 pressings that of albums that I absolutely love and enjoy. And that's really kind of what I want to share with you today and why I want to share these albums with you. But as indicated in the description below, you'll find chapters so that you can zoom to whatever portion of the video that you want to take a look at that might be most important to you, and kind of forget about the other stuff that I might be talking about. Anyway, so today let's go ahead and start. I'm going to be talking about 3 albums. Tracy Chapman, her 1988 release album that has just been recently released this year, 35th anniversary. Rhino has done a release on that. I believe Bernie Grundman cut the lacquers on this and maybe did a little bit of remastering. The original was done, mastered at least initially by Bob Ludwig, so we know that it was done very well right from the start. We'll also talk about Dan Fogelberg, the latest 50th anniversary release on Impex that Chris Bellman has done. And then we'll also talk about Mobile Fidelity's release of Heart, Dreamboat Annie. All 3 of these albums are just fantastic albums. I've loved their music since they were first introduced in each of the years that they were released. They're fantastic albums, but I want to share that with you today. As always, please like and subscribe if you like what you're seeing, but most importantly to me is please leave comments in the comment section below. And today I'm going to be asking some questions in particular on a couple of these albums for your feedback. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. And let's start today. Let's start with Dan Fogelberg, Souvenirs. This is the 50th anniversary release of this incredible 1974 release. Okay, first album that we'll talk about today is Dan Fogelberg, Souvenirs 50th anniversary release on the Impex label, remastered by Bernie Grundman. What a great album this is. What a great album this was right from the first. It was released in 1974. What a great album. And I tell you what, Dan Fogelberg had some incredible musicians backing him up and helping him on this album. Of course, we all know that Joe Walsh produced the album. Of course, he also played on, I don't know, 10 of the 11 tracks on the album, something like that. He played on that, as well as you had Jerry Beckley, Russ Kunkel, Don Henley, Paul Harris, Jimmy Haskell, Graham Nash, and Glenn Frey backing up vocals with a bunch of others. So he had some really incredibly awesome musicians assisting him on this album. And no wonder, it's a great album. Just a wonderful sounding, excellent, I don't know, folk, country, rock album. What do you think? I don't know. Folk, country? That's what I would kind of think of it is. Of course, part of the plan, and Changing Horses, a couple of the songs that really saw a lot of playing time. Excellent song. Let me just quickly show you before we get into the sound quality what you get in the box, which is really quite pretty cool. You get an incredibly nice, and at least in my opinion, incredible gatefold cover. Impex did a great job. You also get in the box, you get this booklet that is really way cool to get. Now, keep in mind, this is limited to 3,000 copies from Impex Records. And as of the date that I'm doing this video, it is still available. And so you got a lot of just, in my opinion anyway, really cool pictures and a lot of information about the album. I think this right here is just a simply awesome touch. The vinyl is 180 gram. It's pressed at Fidelity Pressing in California, which is, I believe, owned by Mobile Fidelity. Here's side 2, 180 gram vinyl. Vinyl is super quiet. It sounds really good. Sound quality on the album is really quite impressive. Let's go ahead and talk about the sound quality and go through the songs on. I'm not going to go through every one of them, but let's talk about the tracks on the album. Of course, side 1, most popular track on the album, Part of the Plan. Wow, really sounds great. No wonder it was a great hit. It's just a great written song. It's just a great performed song. It sounds absolutely wonderful. Guitars and vocals are simply excellent, clean and nicely detailed. And as we indicated, the vinyl is really quite quiet. But the star of the album, the star of the song, excuse me, is Dan Fogelberg's vocals. His voice and vocals are just fantastic. Another favorite song of mine is track 2, Illinois. This is just a great track. Nice sounding drums on this track. Pedal steel guitar is so very identifiable, clean, clear, and crisp. It just sounds really super good. Vocals are absolutely first rate, as you're going to really kind of find as we go through the entire album. Bottom end is solid on this track. Bass guitar and drums sound excellent with good weight and detail. This is probably part of the album that I was really shocked about, and that the compact disc really does lack, is a good foundation, a good solid, not emphasized by any means, but a good solid bottom end. I think it sounds great. Chris Bellman did a great job with this. Moving over to track 3 on side 1, Changing Horses. This is one of the more popular songs that was on the album when it was released and through the years. Great song. Very good. It's a very good track, very well written. Vocals are absolutely wonderful by Dan Fogelberg. Nicely recorded guitars as well as the congas. They're really identifiable. You can hear them really well. They're very well, recorded very well, clear and crisp. It sounds great. Rolling over to side 2, As the Raven Flies. This is just a great track in my opinion and worthy to listen to. This is just really one of my absolute favorite tracks on the album. The guitar work is just simply excellent. Vocals on the track are clean and extraordinarily nicely defined, as it is throughout the entire album. The drums sound very good. They have good weight to them and good detail, surprisingly. Second song, the last song that I'll talk about on the album, is a song from Half Mountain. This is just a beautiful song. If you're unfamiliar with Dan Fogelberg, you'll want to vet out a lot of the songs on the album, but listen to this one, Song from Half Mountain. It's just a beautiful song. Excellent guitar work with super excellent detail. Dan Fogelberg's vocals on this track are simply stunning. In my opinion, his range is just excellent. Just a fantastic sounding track. Overall, and really to wrap up my thoughts on Dan Fogelberg's Souvenirs, I think Chris Bellman and Impex has done a great job. It certainly sounds much better than my compact disc by a long shot. Even in listening to the high-res version on the Lumen T3X, sounds really good, better than the CD by a bunch, but it just isn't nearly as good, at least to me. as the vinyl. It just absolutely sounds stunning to me. It's a really nice recording. I wouldn't go as far as saying that you're going to find a lot of demo tracks on here to vet your system out by any means, but what you will find is incredibly well-written music, incredibly well-recorded music that just sounds great. And I tell you what, if you're looking to unwind, you're looking for an opportunity to kind of lose yourself for a few minutes, Dan Fogelberg's Souvenirs 50th anniversary on Impex is absolutely the way to go. It's just an absolutely beautiful written and beautiful sounding album. Kudos to Chris Bellman and Impex Recording. It's a keeper. Great, great album. I know it's very limited. I think they're only making 3,000 copies. It does cost $40, and I still think, as of the time that I'm doing this video, that they are still available. If you're a Dan fan, Dan Fogelberg and Souvenirs, you vet it out, you like it, you're not going to find a better copy than the Impex 50th anniversary version. Great sounding album. Okay, taking a look at Rhino's release, 35th anniversary release of Tracy Chapman's debut album from 1988, just entitled Tracy Chapman. What an incredibly wonderful album this is. When this was released in 1988, and as I recall, in particular, I became aware of it not initially in 1988, but not too long after, 89 and 90. And I'll tell you how I became really mostly familiar with it is this album, right from the get-go, was really an album that was being utilized a lot for demonstration purposes on audio systems because of the incredible sound quality. In 1988, Bob Ludwig did the original mastering of the album, and the original album, which I have, a 1988 version of the album. You can kind of see that. Was just done really, really, really well. It just sounds, and always has sound, phenomenal. In fact, I'm going to kind of set that right there as we talk about that a little bit. And we'll compare these two pressings. But when it was originally released, I mean, it was just a fantastic album. Of course, Fast Car became a huge hit on the album, as well as Talking About a Revolution and Baby Can I Hold You. I didn't really get much into the rest of the album until later on. Fast Car was obviously the huge hit off the album, and it's probably, I'm sure, probably Tracy Chapman's her first big hit, and probably her biggest hit is Fast Car, and for great reason. The song is simply wonderful, extraordinarily well written, unbelievably well performed, and equally as unbelieving well recorded. It's just a great job of listening to this. Well, how does the 35th anniversary mastered at Bernie Grundman Studios from Rhino sound? They're both albums of these, just really quick. They're not gatefolds. They're just regular albums. Basically identical. They've done a nice job with the jacket. Inside the 35th anniversary version of the album, you get lyric sheets and whatnot for the songs, which I think is really, really nice and neat. Did a really good job with that. And then, of course, you get this really cool record sleeve that I obviously have pulled out and put into a different sleeve, along with the songs and the musicians on the back that are pure with her. But they did a really nice job with the vinyl. It's 180 gram vinyl. As you can see here, it's pretty nice, pretty clean, nice heavy weight. And as we talk about this, and I'll talk about the sound quality of this 35th anniversary pressing, mastered at Bernie Grundman, and we'll compare it to the Bob Ludwig 1988 pressing. I was really not knowing what to expect, because the 1988 pressing by Bob Ludwig is just simply stunning. I just really wondered, can this and how can it get better? And we'll kind of talk a little bit about that as we go through it. And I'm going to kind of compare this to save time as we go through. So we'll just talk about the comparison. We're just going to talk about a quick few songs, not every one on the album. Let's talk about side one, talking about a revolution. It just has excellent. I'm going to be talking about the 35th anniversary first. Excellent sound, guitar, drums, and especially Tracy's vocals are all excellent in detail and clarity. Bottom end has proper weight. Top to bottom balance from top end to bottom end sounds very, very good. Really, really quite good. Comparing that song from the 35th anniversary to the 1988 Bob Ludwig pressing, to me, there's just not much difference, to be honest with you. The 35th anniversary might have a titch lower noise floor on the vinyl. It's not really quiet, I'm going to tell you that. But it does have a little bit less noisy floor than the 1988 pressing. That's really, to be honest with you, on this track, the biggest difference. It really does give the top end on the 35th anniversary a little bit more detail, I believe, at least from what I can hear. And it's not by a huge margin, it's pretty small. But there is a difference that you can hear, most certainly in that noise floor. Moving over to the track 2, Fast Car. Excellent in every way, definition, bottom end weight, detail on drums, guitars, bass guitar and vocals. These just sound simply wonderful, as they do on the 1988 pressing of the album. The differences is this. Once again, extraordinarily small differences. Really has to do with noise floor being slightly elevated on the 1988 pressing compared to the 2025 35th anniversary pressing. Really not a whole lot of difference there, at least to me, on that song. Moving over to the third song on side one, Across the Lines. This is absolutely a wonderful track, in my opinion. It just absolutely sounds fantastic. All instrument and vocals have excellent detail, clarity, and proper balance and weight. Comparing this to the 1988 Bob Ludwig mastered version, the original has slightly more dynamics and bottom end in the bottom end in particular. To me, the original pressing has a little bit better bottom end, maybe a little fuller, if you will, that really works on this track. At least it does for me. All instruments and vocals have excellent detail on both albums. The noise floor on the 35th anniversary, slightly less, giving the top end a little bit better detail on the 35th anniversary. But to be honest with you, it's minor. It's not that much. And really, I do like and prefer the sound of the 1988 pressing on this track, Across the Lines, better than I do the 35th anniversary. That's just me. I just like that little bit fuller presentation in the bottom end. Moving over to a track where you can really define the difference in the noise floor on each of the pressings is the fourth track, Behind the Wall. It's just Tracy's voice, and you can actually really tell a difference in that noise floor in favor of the 35th anniversary compared to the 1988. Still both sound very, very, very good, but the noise floor on the 35th anniversary pressing is a little bit less and a little bit quieter. Fifth song, Baby Can I Hold You. This is one of the other popular songs on the track. Fantastic song with equally fantastic sonics. Top end detail and bottom end weight are actually just excellent. Drums have excellent weight with great detail. Guitars are clean and well defined. Vocals are simply fantastic. in comparing the 1988 pressing to the 35th anniversary Bernie Grunman mastered pressing. It just really kind of seems that it's really the same. It's the noise floor. It's the detail on the top end that kind of will give you a quick nod. And these are minimal. These are minor. Only in direct comparison is it that noticeable. It's just really not that much noticeable. It's just a little bit better, a little bit cleaner, in particular on the top end on the 35th anniversary. Rolling over to side 2, Mountains O' Things. This is just an excellent song. Excellent percussion with excellent detail and clarity. Keyboards are excellent sounding. Vocals, Tracy's vocals are just, she's wonderful on this. This is actually because of the good percussion and detail on the percussion. This is really actually a pretty good song to demo a system with for clarity. It really is a good track to do that with. In comparing it to the 1988 original pressing, Bob Ludwig pressing, it sounds, in my opinion, wonderful. It sounds absolutely wonderful. On this song, the nod slightly goes to the 35th anniversary because it's just had that little bit quieter noise floor, not by leaps and bounds by any means. I would really have hoped for a quieter presentation on this than what we got. But, you know, that may be the tape. I don't know. But it sounds excellent, as does the 1988 version. Last song that we'll talk about is She's Got Her Ticket. This is just an excellent track on the album. Tracy's musicianship, her writing skills are just stunning to me, in particular on this track. Guitar, drums, keyboards all sound extremely well, defined with excellent top to bottom resolution and weight. This is yet another one of those demo-worthy tracks you could vet a system out with. It just sounds absolutely fantastic. Recorded right from the get-go in 1987 when it was recorded, and released in 1988 it just sounds fantastic. It's wonderful. In comparing it to the 1988 version, not much difference, just a little slightly better top end and detail on instruments with the quieter presentation on the 35th anniversary version. Really, and that's really kind of how I would conclude this album. Grateful that it's out, grateful that it's available again. If you don't have a copy, you need to jump on it and grab it. It sounds utterly fantastic. It's a wonderful pressing. It's excellent. If you happen to be an owner of a 1988 pressing that's in really good condition without a whole lot of snaps, crackles, or pops like mine, I don't know, you probably don't even really need to grab this. In my opinion, the differences are very subtle. They're just not huge by any shape or form. They both sound excellent. Only in direct comparison can you hear a difference between the two, and it's minor. It really isn't huge at all. Noise floor, a little bit less, gives you a little bit better indication of definition on the 35th anniversary pressing. But to be honest with you, if you're an owner of a 1988 pressing, you're good. You don't really need to buy this if you don't want to. Probably, to be honest with you, in listening to these albums back and forth at least 5 to 6 different times, I will probably pull the 1988 pressing out and listen to it before I do this one. I just like the presentation of the 1988. I believe it has just a touch fuller bottom end that I like on this album compared to the 2025 35th anniversary. That's my take on it. Let me know what you think. If you happen to have them both, or if you just happen to have this one, you're not going to go wrong. If you don't have the album, hey, this is a no-brainer. You got to get it bought. It sounds fantastic. What an excellent album. What an excellent album, irregardless of which pressing you have. Fantastic. Tracy Chapman, 1988. Entitled Tracy Chapman, first album that she did. A fantastic album. Thanks to Rhino for bringing it back so a lot of people can enjoy this album once again. It's absolutely worthy to own on vinyl. Okay, last album that we're going to talk about is Mobile Fidelity's recent release, of Heart, Dreamboat Annie. Very anticipated release of Heart, Dreamboat Annie, a 1975 release that when it was released initially had an incredibly awesome dynamic sound. Wonderful, wonderful album. I have an original 1975 pressing. I've got the 1979 Nautilus half-speed master super disc. And honestly and truthfully, I had prepared to do a full-blown review and comparison with this album when it came out. But I'll be honest with you, I think there's some issues here. And let me explain. As I put, before I started comparing to these other albums, I put this album on my turntable, 45 RPM, and listened to side one, which has Crazy on You, Magic Man, and Dreamboat Annie. Three just fantastic songs. I mean, great rock and roll songs. I mean, Ann and Nancy Wilson are just rockers, in my opinion. Just phenomenal musicians. I've loved Heart ever since their debut album in 1975, Dreamboat Annie. What an incredible album. But when I put this on, side one on 45 RPM, Craig Wunderlich, by the way, is the one that did the mastering for Mobile Fidelity. I got to be honest, I was underwhelmed. It just seemed, I don't know, the word that I'm going to use, and it may not be the right word or might be the fair word, but I'm going to use it. It was flat. It sounded like the top end and the bottom end were cut off, clipped off. No extension on the top, no extension on the bottom. And as of recent albums, at least from my perspective, from Mobile Fidelity, they've been fantastic. Well, I didn't get that on side one. I thought there was a problem. Now, when I moved over to side two and started listening to the music on side two, things began to get better. At least it was from my perspective on side two. Soul of the Sea, one of the better songs on the album, in my opinion, sounded great. It sounded really, really good. But boy, I tell you what, when you got over to the album, the second album on this 45 RPM version of Mobile Fidelities, it sounded fantastic. The sound was incredible. White Lightning and Wine, Love Me Like Music, Sing Child. What? These are great songs, great, well-recorded songs. They sounded fantastic on the Mobile Fidelity. And I do mean fantastic. But boy, going back to side one, Magic Man, Dreamboat Annie, Crazy on You, what happened? It just sounded flat to me. So what I did is I drafted up an email and sent it to customer service at Music Direct, the place where I bought the album from. And I got a response back from Allison from the Music Direct customer service team. And she indicated that she is going to look into this with the MOFI engineers, Craig Wunderlich, and that group, and get back to me. She said she had not heard of any other reports of this, but she said, I will get with them and let you know and see what's going on. That's been about 8 days ago, and I haven't heard back yet. So that's why I've been dragging my feet not doing this, because I didn't want to do a full-blown review of this and tell you my thoughts and my findings until I knew is that it? Is that how it sounds on side one? It can't be. To me, it just can't be. To me, the bottom end, the top end are clipped. They're cut. It just doesn't sound fluid. It doesn't sound like recent Mobile Fidelity work in my perspective. Side two, much better. Album two, side 3 and 4, fantastic. And to be honest with you, I preferred the Mobile Fidelity 45 RPM the second album, side 3 and 4. I preferred it way more than these two. But boy, I tell you what, side 1 and even a little bit on side 2, my original 1975, the 1979 Nautilus sounded better. They're not clipped. They sound really good. The top end on the Nautilus, to me, is a little bright. Bottom end's good, but top end was a little bit bright. But on the Mobile Fidelity, on side 1, it just seems clipped. It just seems like we're just not getting the full presentation. So I really want to find out before I do a full-on blown review of this But I will tell you this, if there is a problem, and I'll let you know about it, and I'll report it, and we'll talk about it. Hopefully they'll repress another album, and we can listen to it. But boy, from what I heard from album 2, stunning, excellent work. But album 1, in particular, side 1, I think there's issues. And until I know for sure, I'm really not going to do a review of this album until I really find out back from Mobile Fidelity what's going on. And that's why you haven't seen this 8 to 10 days ago, is because I really been waiting to hear back from these guys to find out what's going on. Let me know if you have felt the same thing. Have you bought this album from Mobile Fidelity? Let me know your thoughts on, in particular, side 1. Maybe I've just got a bad album. That happens. I get it. But let me know your thoughts on it. Am I up in the night? Is there something wrong with the vinyl that I got, in particular on side 1 of album 1? Let me know your thoughts. I really, really would like to hear what your thoughts are. And once I get information back from Mobile Fidelity, I'll be sharing that with you. We'll conduct a full, complete review and go from there. But until then, I just really don't want to do that just yet. So stay tuned, and we're going to be finding out a little bit more, and we'll talk about this album a little bit later on. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you so very much. If you have comments, please make sure you leave those in the comment section below. I really do want to hear from you. Super excited to share some other information that is upcoming. Believe it or not, in my search for audio system, I believe, at least at this point in time, I've narrowed it down, and I think I know where I'm going to go as far as an amplifier, preamplification, digital and analog. I think we've got things narrowed down, at least today as I'm talking about it. I think I've made my decisions, and I want to super excited to share that with you. Also going to be heading up to Utah Audio in the next few days. They're having the launch of the new Sabrina V. Those of you that watch my videos, if you recall back when I did the review of my Wilson Audio, the Watt Puppy, I was able to go down and do a tour of Wilson Audio. And part of the areas that I was not able to go to was in the engineering department. Well, now I know why. They were updating and working on the new Sabrina V. Super excited to hear that. I'm going to be going to an opening or a release audition of the speaker in the next few days, and so I'll report to you back on that and let you know what my thoughts are on the Sabrina V as that is coming out. But anyway, got a whole bunch of great albums coming out that we want to talk about. I've got a lot of fun things planned. Apologize for being a little bit late. We've been out of town on some other things going on and busy with some other items, and so I haven't had a video out in a couple of weeks. So anyway, hopefully it won't be that long before I get the next one out. It should be in the next week or so. Appreciate you all. Thank you all so much for being with me here today. Please have a great day.